Ekaro, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Orisha devotional webinar. Please spread the news with your family, your loved ones, people in your community. As always, we hope to inspire you with the wisdom of Obatala, Olokun, and Ifa. As I typically always do, let's start this morning's devotion with a invocation to Oshala. Biokile mi bowa getting ajija. Mafajija jamole getting ajija. Biarule mi bowa getting ajija. Mafajija jamole getting ajija. Biofole mi bowa getting ajija. Mafajija jamole getting ajija. Biami le mi bowa getting ajija. Mafajija jamole getting ajija. I probably mentioned this before in a previous devotion, but something significant that I had experienced, grown through, or seen when I work with the community, the African diaspora community and spirituality and faith. But one of the major or significant issues for Olorisha or Omo Awo is that which pertains to faith and belief. I believe that it is exponentially worse for those whose initial or indigenous ways of life was disrupted due to transatlantic slave trade, trans-Saharan slave trade, colonization, proselytization, etc. The situation to where individuals were leaving their culture and having something foreign impressed upon the individual. And as this individual starts to see the culture that's being impressed was not done in an altruistic way, and this automatically breeds distrust. So at times, individuals may shift from one culture, returning back home without addressing disbelief first. Belief was at the forefront of my journey, for I had evolved belief into knowledge. So as I stand with you here today, I could say that I don't believe in my Tutli Orisha, that I came to the realization that I know my Orisha. And I believe that there is a significant difference between faith, belief, and having that involved into a type of knowledge. Of course, this knowledge came through several personal challenges. I feel that there may be hard times that introduces you to your other self, that we go through experiences that may be difficult. And I thought to myself, how many times do I have to experience difficulty, significant hardship where my back is up against a wall to know that Obatala and Yemu always make a way without fail, that significant hardships and troubles come consistently, but one after another consecutively, they all are impotent and they all drop. So it was through these learning experiences that belief was something that had to be adjusted and rectified. I know in their essence and I know their subtle essences. But when I was going through this journey, I noticed that when you see other Orisha or other devotee, they may not have the same trouble as what I was experiencing. For an example, when you see lightning, you see Shango. When you see the ocean, you see Olokun. When you see the cumulus clouds, you see Agberu. When you see the crossroads, you can see Eshu. When you see iron, the products from metallurgy, you see Ogun. When you see rivers, various rivers, you may see Oshun, Oya, Yemoja. When you see the earth, you see Onile. Consider that Obatala and Yemu are at the forefront as the Oba of all the Orisha, but yet you don't see them anywhere. How is it that the ambassadors of Aleta Moray and Oshumare, these high exalted Orisha, and they are nowhere to be seen. And I noticed that this was quite peculiar. Last week, we discussed that academia at times is not influenced or approved solely on empiricism, but it's influenced by finances, the will of private think tanks, and corporations to shape the mind of people. So just as we discussed, the Big Bang Theory was not based on empiricism or science, but that the Big Bang Theory was introduced and actually swiftly approved by Christian monotheistic cosmology that was pushed by the Jesuits. And this is also similar to the thoughts and findings of Copernicus. Now, this is the same with ether, as they call luminiferous ether. And ether, for years, it could be thousands of years, we may have called it a different name. However, ether was propagated as a medium to which light is dispersed or propagated. So it's the propagation of light. It is a vessel that contains light. This was removed, and this was very swiftly removed and debated when Galileans, quote unquote, Galileans transformation and the Newtonian dynamics were both modified by Albert Einstein in his theory of relativity, giving the mathematics of Lorentzian electrodynamics a new perspective. And this new thought was based on the removal of ether out of the physicist or scientific mind. And it was adopted really swiftly and really quickly to where people were almost debating the authenticity of this promotion. Now, this idea of ether is now being revised to explain dark matter and dark energy and potentially to unify physics again. Again, we know that these theories were proven as scientific law by the Africans collectively for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. Again, this brings the sentience of us forming our own educational centers, our own theories that are based on our culture, not at the will of private think tanks and corporations. So I say this to say is that at times these theories were egotistically introduced, that there may be agendas to dull down the mind of people, to dull down science, to remove things that has the presence of divine and insert jargon to one sees fit. Now, we know from the book of Knowing the Manifestations of Ra and Overthrowing Apep that ether is real, that ether is an actual deity. It is said after Asar, or after Ra came into being, after Ra was a conscience, that he made the statement that I am the primeval matter of primeval matter. My name is Asares. So what he's saying is that there is successions that happen through creation. And as Ra is self-aware and created himself, that he automatically transformed into something else. So as soon as you have fire, immediately when you have fire, you have white light. And that white light has always been with that fire from the very beginning. So now I hope we're starting to see the similarities between quote unquote science and what our ancestors are saying about our own religious culture. So Asar is that primeval matter of primeval matter as he is born out of the fire of Ra. So Asar is worshipped as Aswusi in Akan, and Aswusi has this praise name, Akoto, which means the supplicant. So this term means that it's a very high-ranking person that could ask favors from quote unquote God or a creative, a high position or the creator. So it's inferring that Aswusi is the ambassador of Inyankopon. Now, this is the exact same experience that we have in Nisheshe. There's a essay from the Odu of Ofun in 16 Kairis, and it's a story that speaks about the unison of Obatala and how Obatala is the ambassador, the supplicant of Alenamare and Oshumare. So when we are saying that Obatala and Yemu are the ambassadors of Aledamare, or they're second in command of Aledamare, the reason why we're saying that, as illustrated through all our collective African cultures, is that they are that ether or that vessel that contains that light, and they act on behalf of Aledamare and Eshumare. They are the only Orisha that has the Ashe to act on the direct behalf of Aledamare and Eshumare. So to expound upon this a little bit further, is that there are several realms in our own. We know through my research, there are two Aye. I found this in other cultures, and I'm in process of making this empirical Nisheshe, that there's two divisions of Aye, and there's 7 different realms of our own. I believe we discussed this as well, that one layer of the Aron is the complete essence of Obatala, that this is where he resides at. It said in the Oshapipe, which is the Obatala incantation liturgy, is that he has the praise name as Onile Nla, which means the owner of a big house, the owner of a big realm. It's also said in another pipe that he is enthroned in a place that is full of Ire, which he descends from. There's a dilemma when we translate the word Allah, which I have written extensively about. We won't go over it today, but I hope to share it with you all in the future. But the term Allah could mean several different, or two different things, two different concepts. Nonetheless, Obatala has the title Firia Juala, which means the quick one or the swift one in the spirit world. He has the praise name Ala Balashe. So us Baba Oshas and us Iya Oshas, we have this idea, we have this knowledge that when we do things to Obatala, he has a very swift nature to do things really quickly in the spirit world. So when we get some of the implements and we make soaps or charms, we know due to his pure essence that he responds to things very quickly in the spirit world. This concept is the exact same with Aswusi and Akan, to where he has the title Asi Bre Mi Nya, which means Asi or Aswusi, give me or make my legs strong, make my legs swift. So again, we have the same deity that responds to things very quickly. What I'm attempting to illustrate here is that as we know that other Orishas have their abode, Obatala and Yemu have their abode as well, that they are everywhere and then they're nowhere at the same time. This is the chief essence of my deities, and they afforded me no choice but to confront my issues of disbelief or how one may operate during power struggles. I've had a client disclose that they had this very same experience, this very same situation, to where they were close to someone and this person was bullying an individual, that this person was being confrontational, rude, manipulative. They said that she would say things that would gaslight this person to invoke a response, then at the same time claim victim, and also continually blaming this person for things that one did not do. And it was disclosed that this wasn't like a one or two time occurrence, that this was a consistent behavioral pattern. So they're illustrating that they're in this dilemma to either say something that this person would spin the conversation, reject accountability, and of course have anger issues and can't really communicate, and either say something, lose their cool, trying to exonerate oneself, but while looking at the instigator, looking as the instigator. And the only advice that one can think of is that to immediately neutralize the situation, because it definitely has some long-term things that needed to be addressed, but just consider that the truth does not need an alibi. And it was quite synchronistic. Another colleague confided in me with something, a similar situation as well, a similar power struggle. And rather than confronting, which this person did, and end up looking like they were the ones who were the problem colleague, but they should have kept their mouth closed And that when you are going through situations such as power struggles, is that the truth does not need an alibi. And I understand that this hurts when you're being blamed for something. It hurts your pride when some people are telling you things that you are not. And our natural defense to bullying is to stand up for oneself and to confront oneself. And I can definitely relate through my life, especially being Black in America, being labeled as criminals, which we aren't, being segregated as if we're feeble-minded or non-intelligent, of course, which we're not, when we're racially profiled, abused, pulled out on the street, laid on the ground when you're minding your business, and you're treated as a criminal when we're not. And when we are consistently abused by this system that thinks that they have power over us. So what I'm illustrating here is power struggles. It's frustrating to think how people who may have positions of authority over us, people who may be close to us, people who claim that they love us, attempt to bully us, take advantage of us, and abuse a good heart. And so there's an ethical dilemma to how do we respond to it. So the more I was thinking about this, and it was consistent with a couple of people having the same scenario, is that I started, somebody asked me about my onje, and onje is the metal to Obatala. So they were saying, what are you gonna do? And it looks pretty tight on me. It's a fairly big band. So they said, what do you do? Like, how do you take that off if you need to go somewhere, or you go on the take a flight, or you have to see the doctor or whatever. And I was joking, like, oh, I don't know. It's just stuck for life. It's stuck for life. But all of those who aren't, ELR, EA Oshas and Baba Oshas, we know that Onje looks very thick and it looks very strong, but it's a very malleable metal that you could bend it and twist it and not have it break its form if you're not too rough with it. So when you look at a snail and a frog, and they're both related to Osha, is that they are very sensitive and they have very delicate skin. And when you see frogs and snails or slugs in your yard, even though some people may not like it, it's a good thing because they're telling you that your yard is free from like radon and toxins. Because if you had poison around your yard, frogs and snails wouldn't be there because their skin is very delicate and is very sensitive. The elephant, which is sacred to Obatala, has a very massive, enormous, and strong power, but it has a very gentle, calm-like behavior. Obatala is very delicate in this instance, and I'm starting to figuring out this about myself as well with salt. I don't eat a lot of salt, but I'm seeing that my body is really, now it's very sensitive to salt. So Obatala is said as someone who's extremely rich, who has enough money for like several sacks of salt, but he chooses to eat his food plain. Obatala is also called Mori Mori Tin Mori Omotuntun, which means the head molder, the one that molds the heads of babies. So we have someone that power is second to no one. We have someone who is a fearsome warlord, yet at the same time, very gentle and very delicate. Can you imagine the type of delicate or gentle hands that you would need to mold a head of a baby, but you have so much strength inside of you? Obatala, as we discussed a couple of weeks back, that Iwa, or ethical character, is his eru, is his slave. So all of these things are going through my mind as I'm thinking about how do we address power struggles and how do we address difficulties. That ego inside of us may say, you know what, I'm not going to let no one chump me. I'm going to have to let this person know. But then again, when we walk away saying some things that we shouldn't say, or we would carry ourselves in a way that we know that we shouldn't have, we may have instant regret and start to think, maybe there was another way I could have went about it. Maybe there has to be another solution to my issues. Irete Toba, from the 256 Odu corpus of Ifa, speaks about a time when Obatala needed a type of fish, and he needed this fish for Ebo. And he was looking high and low, and he could not find this fish anywhere. He noticed that there was a blind man that was just flawlessly getting fish, no problem. He would get the line, tie it, throw it in the water, fish, like consistently. He didn't fail. Obatala was looking, he could not find his fish. And someone told him that, there's a blind man on the Ocean River, and this person sells and specializes in the fish that you needed. And so when Obatala got notice of the man, he was informed that all of the fish were taken that day, that all of its orders were already fulfilled. So he would not be able to get the fish, and he needed the ebo that day. He could not wait it. It needed to be done that day. So Obatala did the unthinkable. And while the blind man was fishing, he snuck up on the fisherman and scooped all of the fish out of his basket. And he thought, well, I needed it. It needed to be done today. He doesn't see me. He's blind. There's no harm, no foul. Let me go ahead about my business. As the fisherman was ending up the day and he grabbed his basket, he noticed that there were no fish in his basket. And he thought, what type of nonsense is this? This had never happened before. I don't know what the issue is. So the fisherman decided to go and divine. And the diviner said, I think I have a solution to your problem. And the problem's going to happen again tomorrow. So when you are out there fishing, I'm going to give you this song to sing, and sing this song while you're fishing. Obatala got home, he performed this ebo, and he had more than enough fish that was left, that was needed. So he went, cooked the fish to how he would like, and he ate all of the fish. His ebo was fulfilled, he had a full stomach, everything was situated. So Obatala thought, man, that fish was sure good that I had the other day. Let me see if I can go and attempt to get it again. So when the fisherman heard that there was footsteps that was behind him, and he was like, in his memory kicked in, and he knew that he was supposed to start singing this song again. And he started chanting the song again. The one with I've seen this person, the one with the onje bangles, the one that has a walking stick of the opaya shoro, the one that has a white cloth. And as he was singing the song, he knew that it was Obatala that was stealing his fish. And Obatala turned around, and he noticed that Obatala turned around. He knew that the fisherman saw him, and the fisherman confronted him. He's like, why would you steal this? Look at you of all people, you were out here stealing fish from me. And Obatala said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what had happened, whatever, what's gotten over me. I apologize. And the fisherman was like, no, 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 no. I've been blind my whole life. I'm out here struggling, and you of all people are stealing from me. So Obatala got a ado, which is the small gourd out of his mouth, which is a common medicine that he has. And he poured it into the eyes of the fisherman. And once he poured it into the eyes of the fisherman was able to see again. This story is illustrating a couple of things. One is that there are unseen entities that you may not see that are governing order. There are entities that you are blind to, and they are watching you, and they're regulating the orders of events. So in a sense, either A, no one can truly really get away with anything. But the vigilance it's not much of my concern for this devotion today. But B, more importantly, is that if you do your ritual, there are unseen things and unseen forces that will avenge wrongdoings or avenge you when things are happening to you. This is it speaks about power struggles, and it speaks about the imbalances, and it speaks about those who are being taken advantage of, and it's not okay for one to do so. Now, the wrongdoer would definitely take responsibility for something that they have done and need to make amends, but the greater good will come from this violation. So it kind of reminds me of a saying that I would say when I was growing up, is that sometimes blessings can come from misfortunes. Now, there is times to where our perception can be cutting something off. And due to this lack of perception is that there could be blessings, there could be things that are meant for us that are hidden in plain sight. And we may get off track due to the things that we don't see. If there's something that you desire and it doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that it's not meant to be. It doesn't mean that this thing isn't for you. This may mean that there's a different way that you have to go about it, and that there's something meant for you, but it's hiding in the unknown, and you may have to reconsider your perspectives. You may have to change your idea, change your game plan, but in short, don't let temporary hardships make you make permanent, lifelong decisions. And this reminds me of one music artist coming up during the 90s, is when this person was attempting to make attempting to get a record deal, Master P. And so when he was going towards, when he was leaving New York and going up, leaving New Orleans and going to New York, he recalled the time when he probably had about $30 in his pocket. And when he was going there, this person wanted to offer him and his brother C a $1 million contract. And when he offered him this contract, that they said that, we'll own your rights, we'll own your name, and we'll give you, I believe, what was it? We'll give you 30, and they keep 30% of and the record company keeps the rest. And so he declined the offer, turned around and got on a plane and went home. So he was recalling the scenario to where him and his brother were getting in this disagreement. So his brother was saying, we need to take that $1 million. We don't have any money. We needed that money right now. And so P said, well, if this man doesn't know me and he offered me $1 million, how much do you think that I'm really worth? He saw something within himself and he decided to invest in itself and make the right decision. So he paid about about $25,000 for to speak with the lawyer of Michael Jackson, who basically told him that you just need a distribution bill, a distribution deal, and then that you will keep everything yourself. You keep your names, you keep your royalties, you keep your masters. And so he was ended up getting an 80-20 deal, to where he keeps 80% and the record company keeps 20. And to this day, no one else had ever received that same deal. So this is why P says to this day is that you have to believe in yourself, you have to trust yourself, and never make a deal when you're desperate. We could be looking at a situation or a perspective wrong, not knowing that there is something or someone hidden to help us, and someone there to judge us, to avenge for us and help us on our behalf. There's something within ourselves that we may not see the value in, but other people do. There may be someone who regulates order, who's regulating from a sanctified or a hidden place that is just limited to our perspective. And our limited perspective can cause anxiety, it can cause depression, procrastination, fear, and these insecurities can really cause us to doubt ourselves. Wisdom, and I could say possibly illusion, is something that is very prominent in the Itan of Olokun, is that there's several stories to where she is telling the supplicant to be very wise and to operate with discernment, is that there's something very precious and something really sacred that someone may have, but it may be hidden from their view, or they may be discrediting it. Sometimes you could look at these things with a limited perspective, and it makes you question yourself. It makes you question your strength and your abilities. So there's a Odu and Ifa where that specifically mentions Olokun, and it says that this is a precious Ifa, and this Ifa is very rare, and it very rarely is divine for the supplicant. And this was the time, and there's a couple of stories like this, to where Olokun wanted to divine about being the largest body of water. So it was an elbow that was prescribed to her. She fulfilled her elbow quickly, and she became the largest body of water. So when you think about this, it shows you perspective and discernment. So can you imagine something so sacred and so precious and something so beautiful, but then that perspective that one has on oneself would have you think that you're less than what you actually are, because there's only one world. So we have Olokun that's divining about being the largest body of water when she already is. So when this comes up, Ifa is telling you that you have to prepare for what you want and go for it. What you're looking for, who you're looking to be, is already yours. It's already decided. It's in your hands. All you have to do is make the decision to obtain it, make the commitment to be it, and go for it. It's yours. As I grew in practice and culture, that we know that life isn't really defined, is that majority of what happens to us in our life is based on a preconceived notion of what we believe is possible for ourselves. That belief will continue to make an imprint, and that Ashe will have this press on our personal atmosphere, and everything will bend to what we believe is possible. We know that Obatala's daughter is Oju, and Oju is the eyes. So it's telling you that there's an intricate link between creation and what we see, what we think about ourselves, what we visualize about ourselves. Faith is auto-suggestion. Nothing, as I discussed 2 devotions ago, is that anything to me past about 10 minutes into the future isn't necessarily real to me. I could have a new thought. I can choose the thoughts that I have. I can choose the directions that we want to go. Auto-suggestion is when you consistently impress upon your subconscious mind that what you want to do, that's what you desire. So if this is words of affirmation, invocations, if this is prayers or visualizations, is that when we continually press our will on our personal atmosphere, reality has no choice but to bend to what we desire. So we really have to define life for ourselves. And there's several essays and several pipes that speak about Obatala, did you wake up? Did you sleep good? Did you wake up? And it speaks about him descending from the spirit world. So again, as we're looking for his abode of Obatala and Yamu, and we may feel like there's no one here, we may feel like our ambassador or our Oba is not here. The Oba is here, but the Oba is hidden. And don't make decisions due to desperation, and don't make decisions based on a feeling of isolation. They are there, but they're hidden in another realm of reality. So don't throw your blessings away due to temporary hard times. Last essay that we'll do for today, it speaks about someone who was a dancer and a performer. So this performer will go along with the Egungun each time they have a festival, and he will perform well, very successful, makes a lot of money. Before the festivals were going to start, it was told that this person should perform Ebo, so that what he does not bring trouble onto itself. So the dancer or the acrobatic person said, it started laughing and saying, all right, well, if this is the reading for the year, and I guess it has to be true. So I'll do it later. I have to do something for the Alafin of Oyo. I'll just do it later. So as this performer was going on his festival, he noticed that the Alafin had about 300, they say about 300 wives. And some of these women were inherited from previous Alafin, that they'll make a deal on behalf of the city, and there's things dealing with children or different succession rights. But nonetheless, the Alafin had acquired about 230 wives. So for whatever reason, that this performer was getting real fresh with the wives of the Alafin. So he was so good at acrobats that he could easily scale the wall of the palace, and he can jump inside the palace. At this time, this person was having an affair with 10 or 15 women of the Alafin. So about 10 or 15 of the Alafin's wife were pregnant at a time. And so the Alafin thought, well, what is going on here? Because I know I'm not sleeping with these women. And how did they all become pregnant? So they decided to set a trap for this performer. And as this performer was carrying on, they wanted to see, who could scale this wall or who could enter into the palace. So when they were doing this test, everyone failed but this performer. The performer was able to scale the wall in about 2 to 3 jumps, and they knew that this was the person that was impregnating the Alafin's wife. So when they initially got him, they took him to the palace. It was the order to execute him, and they were going to fulfill the orders and take him out to the forest. They must have felt bad for the performer, seeing that he was really famous, that he was successful, he was rich, that they had pity on the man and they just let him go. One day, when the executioners returned, and the Alafin asked, "Well, what happened to this performer?" And like, "Oh yeah, that stupid guy. Yeah, we killed him. He's gone. He's gone." Around that same week, there was something that was wrong with the Alafin's roof, and the performer, was a very skilled roofer. And they were thinking, well, who could fix his roof? I will give them, it doesn't matter what the price is, I'll pay whatever. And they thought, man, that performer was an excellent roofer. We could have used him. But the performer was gone, spending his life in exile and in permanent shame because of the decisions that he made. There's a saying that the man can steal bread and hide from the eyes of the king, but the eyes in the spirit world are looking at you. So what these essays are telling us is that there are eyes that are always watching, that when we had hardships or hard times, there was always someone there to help us and benefit us, and to help us so we could benefit from their ashe in our time of need. Someone sees the experiences that you're going through, and someone knows the difficulties that you had. I have heard a lot of stories about abuses of authority, as we discussed earlier today within the workplace, or if a boss micromanage you and passes you up for a promotion or salary without proper ranking and delegates several unrelated duties to you due to a hiring freeze. Trust that someone sees that, and don't lose your character when you're trying to represent yourself. I heard of other stories to when, yeah, a young sister was going through her degree program, almost finishing her degree, needing a residency or internship, to only leave her town, go to another state where she was experiencing heavy racism and being hazed on her internship and practicum. These individuals wanted to see her fail while attempting to get her professional license. Trust in these power imbalances that someone sees you. Now, there was someone who wanted to make an investment. They had a business partner who was pocketing all the money and, basically stealing from his business partner. In times like that, trust that someone sees you. You can devote yourself to institutions, jobs, corporations, or people. They can hold power or authority over you to make you feel powerless, but trust that someone sees that. And the decisions or the aftermath is solely based on your steps alone. Some will be sad, some will be depressed, stopped, and be stagnant, but some will keep moving forward. So that person who lost about 90K in investments decided to stop and say, I'll never invest again. I would only put my money in a savings account, which is not the best for your financial sovereignty. The sister who was getting hazed decided that she was not going to give up, that she did not spend all of her money and all of her time studying just so someone can be a pseudo gatekeeper. She kept pressing on. She got her license, and she thought that when it's against me and my goal, that I'll be unstoppable about achieving what I want to achieve. Now, it could be someone who is carrying on certain weight, or someone who's performing things at the workplace, again, in a non-reciprocal manner, is that this person could say, I'll just have to deal with it. This is how it is everywhere that we go. You know how it is. That person saw value in itself, decided to improve on one's skills, and kept moving forward and found another place to where he was appreciated. So all I'm saying is that IA is a very strange place of illusions, and things do not appear as they seem. So sometimes we're just going to have to see through the mess. As we were looking for the abode, again, as we know, Olokun has her abode in the ocean. Shango has his abode in the lightning. Oya, Oba, Oshun, they have their abode in the river. Onile has her abode in the earth. Obatala and Yemu have their abode, and they're everywhere. So when we're going through hard stuff, when we're going through difficult times, you are not alone. You have people that are vouching for you and teaching that people that will avenge you. If you keep your character good, you do your ritual, and you stay within your character mandates. As long as you don't break your character and you have the courage to confront these types of issues, things will always work in your favor. Just because things don't work the first time, just because you may have a certain type of issue or difficulty, it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. It's asking you to give your attention to look at something in a different perspective. That if you were, let's say, making this business plan and time after time, it's hardship, it's failures, you're applying for grants, they're passing over you, you're trying for a business loan, you're not getting it. It doesn't mean that that plan's not going to work. It just means you have to probably do it another way. Find another way that's going to help you achieve your success. Is that it's important to know that every person has a goal. Everything that was created has a destination in mind. So all we have to do is just keep trekking on, keep moving forward in our journey, and know that these hard times are teaching you something. These hard times are teaching you something about yourself, and is developing you to be the best you can possibly be. Now, as Bob Okola told me as I was complaining about the issues of life, couple years back, and he relayed some wisdom to me. Issues that you may experience as being a minority in America and being under systemic oppression. And his response was this Odu. And he said that, sometimes this Odu, I think, is a worry or something, that it shakes you up just to examine you. That the Odu is speaking on how the Orisha is giving you a hard time to just see how are you going to handle a situation. The Orisha will shake up your life to examine your response. And it sees that your foundation is firm in character, then you will be blessed. Les Brown used to says, until you handle something with grace, it is going to stay in your face. And some things had to stay a long time until I know how to move through and move about it. The difficult part, as I experience, with the clients today, is how do you prove yourself through systemic oppression? How do you prove yourself in negativity? And the need to defend ourselves when we're being slandered or emotionally bullied. The problem could just be we need to invest our time and attention into other things, into other routes. Now, if it's meant for us, it's meant for us. No one can take anything from you that you don't let go of yourself. So if there's some place you want to go, if there's something that you want to become, if there's something that you want to do, and we're experiencing hardship after hardship, just know that if it's meant for you, do your ritual, divine about it. And if this is something that you want, stay on that journey. But you may need a different perspective. You may need a different route or a different way of looking at things. So if that business plan isn't working out, that doesn't mean it's not meant to be. Divine on it. If Ifa says that this is the way for you, think and strategize about how can you go about things in a different manner so that you can be successful. I say to you, find your way, and I promise you that everyone has their way and their destiny.